Hey there, welcome back to Mama's Orchids and Backyard. I grow in Zone 9A, Texas Gulf Coast area. My climate is mild winter with a few days of freezing temperature, and spring is windy and very short here before the temperature creeps up. Summer is the longest season here it's very humid and it gets very hot. I know it's only been a couple of weeks since the last video we did on what's in bloom, but the last video had a lot of orchids in bud, and now many of them are opening up, and I didn't want to miss the chance to share the blooms with you. This first one is a Vanda costylis, Tubton Siam, and you saw this one on the last video of what's in bloom, but this time all the buds have opened up and the fragrance is amazing. It smells like herbal soap, like lavender herbal soap, something like that. But it's so enticing and you can smell it 20 or 40 times and you still want to come back and smell it again. It's not overwhelming. It is present though when you are in the room with it. This orchid likes a lot of water, so I had to drape some moss around the roots. Now this next one I did not bloom, so I don't take credit. It's a Rancostylis Celestis times Koki, and I recently purchased this one. And the fragrance is very sweet. I really like it. It's subtle, and what's nice is its blooming size. Now the color is not as I expected. I was hoping more blue, but it's still lovely. It's very dainty, and it's a great one to have. This next one is a first-time bloomer for me. It is a piece of a full-size plant, and it is called Yamadara Queen Adelia. The next one is a very common one. It's called Dendrobium Firewings, and this is a second-time bloomer this year already. And when it was blooming earlier, I believe it was in the winter, and now it's putting out another spike, and I think it's a different pseudobulb though. And it is a long time bloomer. That's what's great about this plant as well. This next one, I am super excited about it. It's a first time bloomer for me. It is Cattleya aclandiae, and hope it's giving me 3 buds. I'm pointing out some of the locations right here with my finger of where I think might end up being a bud. The really neat thing about this is that it's so unexpected. It took a long rest all winter, and then all of a sudden it starts a new growth, and I thought it was 2 new leaves, but the 2 new leaves were cupped together, and all of a sudden it's sprung open. The leaves are sprung open one day, and then the bud just showed up. So, but we'll keep an eye on it and see if these 2 new growths are new buds. This one is a Epidendrum hybrid, yellow one, and it was in bud in the last video, but only a couple of blooms were open. Now it's completely open, all the buds, and it looks like a little bouquet. It's adorable. And this one is a very fast grower. It loves a lot of water. Feed it really well. This is Cymbidium alifolium. I have this one small clump in a Vanda basket in a pot. And I pulled this one out of the main 2 huge clump that I had because I noticed this one had a lot of bloom spikes. And I wanted to enjoy this one on a smaller pot. And then the other 2 are also in bloom. One of them, I'm doing a little experiment. One of them I'm potting in charcoal and bark. And then the other one I am potting this one right here in dirt, in potting soil. This orchid seems to love a lot of moisture, so I'm thinking I may need to keep it in potting soil to get it enough. And this one that you see here is in bark. One hanging in the Vanda basket is in sphagnum moss. This one from the kitchen is Dendrobium Berryota, which was a surprise to me. I thought it was Kingianum, and I've done all my videos when it's in bloom, when this particular orchid's in bloom, calling it Kingianum. And thanks to Miss Orchid Girl, I watched one of her video and it shows the difference between the two, and I just figured out this one is Baryota. And I need to save this poor little orchid. It's full of spider mites. This next one is a mini Phalaenopsis with no ID. And I have on it a little pouch of slow release fertilizer. This next one is a yellow mini phal, and it's from the grocery store, and I need to repot this soon. This next one is an Oncidium intergeneric. It's pretty large, and here's the tag. And I will make a video about how I got this orchid. As you can see, it's not from the store. I didn't bloom it. It's got several spikes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 of them are starting to open, and 1 already open actually. No scent that I can detect, but very pretty yellow flowers, which I'm lacking of. I don't have enough yellow orchids in my collection, nor do I have many Oncidiums, so it's a good one. This next one is a mini phal again, and I don't know what color it is, so it'll be exciting to see, but it looks like it'll be a pale color. And, here, 2 more mini phals blooming. This is from my kitchen window. This next one is Dendrobium royal chip. It likes a lot of moisture as well, but not soggy. It's in bark, and I think I may repot it soon in moss. There's a lot of new growth on this Latoria type orchid, and the new growth is very sensitive to fertilizer burn, so I have to be careful not to get any fertilizer on the new growth. I try to water around the rim of the pot. This next one is a miniature Oncidium CALiMAGic, and it needs a lot of water when it's in bloom. The buds take a long time to develop, but it's so worth it. Neophonetia fulcata. Love saying that name. This one was a surprise. We just recently purchased this one, if you remember the opening of Hauserman box about a month ago, and now, hey, there's a spike. Very nice. And it loves this setup. I have it in clay pebble at the bottom or so, about half or 2/3, and then sphagnum moss towards the upper part. And I do soak it in water ever so often, and the roots are going gangbusters. It gets really bright light on my western facing window, and once in a while I do have it in direct sunlight in the middle afternoon accidentally when I forget to put the shades down. Luckily nothing's burned. This next one is a Nobile Dendrobium Fairy Moon Sweetie. It's very fragrant, and I had cut 2 canes that would have been blooming, but it was just falling all over the place. It was really tall. I didn't take care of it, and so I didn't have as much bloom as I could have had. Last year I had much more blooms on it, so I'm going to share a picture with you from last year as well. Now I say the name of this type of dendrobium very differently from everyone else. I spoke with someone who speaks French, and they said the proper way to say this word, which means noble in French, is Nobile. And that makes sense because you know that city, Mobile, Alabama? And both words are from French origin, so it makes sense that they follow the same pronunciation rule. Anyone who happens to speak French that's watching this, maybe they can leave a comment and give us your feedback. This next one is an anosmum hybrid, and it's so fragrant. I'm mounting it up on my trellis so that we can see it from below. It's such a long cane to look under. So what I'm going to do is probably end up repotting this because this plant is going to get really longer or taller. So also to enjoy it better, I think I'm just going to put it upright for future purposes. I am going to make a separate video on how to take care of and rebloom these deciduous dendrobiums. And the texture of the anosmum bloom is thicker and more substance to it than the Laodicea and the aphyllum. So this one should bloom longer. This next one is Dendrobium laodiceae. And it is finally all the buds are open. It's very fragrant also. Just really neat looking, but all the petals and the lip and all the flower part are really thin. So I have a feeling it's not going to last very long. So better enjoy it really well. I'm going to put it in my kitchen window and look at it all the time. And I'm going to have this also in a separate video in a deciduous dendrobium care video. This one is Dendrobium aphyllum or aphyllum, and it's also a different name that it goes by, an older name, I believe. It's considered Peridii. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. I have a few keikis of this one too, but it doesn't produce as many keikis as the Laodiceae. You know, I'm going to start feeding and taking care of these orchids better this year. I want to see their potentials. I want to see what they can do. My resolution this year is to commit to a weekly feeding. Last year, I was too busy with the vegetable gardens, with new routine of expanding the garden and building the big shed. This year, though, I have the routine down with the garden and the shed is done. So we should see the fruits of our labor this fall or winter or next year with better orchid blooms and potential new blooms. I know one of the orchid that I have that is blooming size, and it should have bloomed sooner than this year, and it didn't because it was just didn't have enough food. And it's the big Vandycostylis. And also the Deciduous Dendrobiums should have had more blooms as well. I gave it plenty of water last year, and I gave it severe chilling hours this winter, and plenty of direct, very bright sunlight during the resting period. So all these factors were met except for the nutrition. So that is the only thing. So we'll try that this year and see what happens next year. So this is the view from my kitchen window, and I've got most of the blooming orchids all around this corner sink. And enjoyed every single time I'm in the kitchen, which is very often. Yeah, I want to enjoy every moment that these dendrobiums are in bloom because I know they don't last very long.